So this is the kidney, and then we progressively get more zoomed in. So what we're looking at here is like what we would see right in here. And then what we're looking at here is one of these little purple circles, so it just progressively zooms in. So structures we want to be aware of on this portion, we want to be able to identify the cortex, which is all around the outside. It has a letter A for the cortex. These middle pink triangles, all of this would be the medulla, so there's a letter B for the medulla. This collection of white tubes would be our renal pelvis in through here, and then all of that empties into our ureter. So this number 10 would be the ureter. There's some blood supply you'll need to know. So as blood enters into the kidney, this is the renal artery. This is called a segmental artery. In between these pyramids, in between this pink, this would be called an interlobar artery. Making this big arch is an arcuate artery. And then as it branches up into the cortex, it's called interlobular. So interlobar, arcuate, interlobular artery. Each one of these pink structures is called a renal pyramid. So those are different things you'd need to know on this section. As we move over here, within one of these renal pyramids, we still see A for cortex and B for medulla based on how it's set up there. So right around here, we have, this is all called a nephron. So for the nephron, this first part is called the corpuscle. This little cranberry-looking purple dot. And then this first tube that we exit into is called our proximal convoluted tubule. So that's right here. As we start looping down, this structure here is called the nephron loop. And then this little pinkish structure is called the distal convoluted tubule. Then emptying in through these angles is called the collecting tubule. And then this large one here is a collecting duct. Based on the location, where most of this is in the cortex, this right here would be considered a cortical nephron. This one is much closer to the medulla and it dips further down. So we would call this one a juxtamedullary nephron. Over here, we see blood flowing into, so this is the same as this little structure. So there's blood flow into this. So the vessel that enters into this structure is called the afferent arteriole, and blood that exits out is called the efferent arteriole. These are representing capillaries surrounding these tubules. So up here we would call these peritubular capillaries. Down here it's representing capillaries that surround the nephron loop. So we would call this the vasa recta. When we look over here at this structure, a zoomed in version of this, we still see that blood flow in here called our afferent arteriole. We see the blood flow exiting called the efferent arteriole. This is showing a picture of the distal convoluted tubule. So as it loops back around, this is part of that tube. So this is the distal convoluted tubule. This portion here would be as it exits out, so we call this the proximal convoluted tubule. This web-like structure of vessels is called the glomerulus. It looks like cracked desert floor here. These hexagons, these cells are called granular cells of the afferent arteriole. That's part of something called the juxtaglomerular apparatus. So all this stuff is on your list. Mm-hmm. And then these cells that are present in this part of the distal convoluted tubule, these are called macula densa cells. So these are also part of that juxtaglomerular apparatus. So I could say, what is the name of this vessel? You'd say afferent arteriole. I could say, what are the names of the cells on this vessel? You'd say granular cells. I could say, what's the name of this tube? You'd say distal convoluted tubule. I could say, what's the name of the cells inside of this tube? You would say macula densa cells. So that's what you need to know on this model.